Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just want to do a quick lesson on Matthew 24 and Revelation 18. And so this is in a response to End Times Teacher's video. The elect will go through the Great Tribulation. And so I want people to understand the position of End Times Teacher and GMS and all these people is that the Hebrew Israelites, and probably to some extent even a lot of the Catholic Church, Christian Church, is that they are going to be the ones who are going to spread the gospel worldwide. It's their responsibility. And I'll show here that that's impossible, and you should know just in real life, just by looking at their teaching, that almost all of them are ball earthers, and so that they can't teach the gospel because they're antichrist. And so that I shouldn't even have to make this video, but again, this is just more to kill time and point out how stupid the world is, to think that. End Times Teacher is the only exception that I know of, and I'm sure there are not very many that are like public people who are flat earthers and take a stab at understanding the book of Revelation, in any kind of seriousness. And so he's not going to do it by himself. And he teaches the non-virgin birth, which is blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. So these people are all Satanists, but this is just more for academic, just for learning, just for like killing time, and that kind of thing. And just again, like I said, to point out how stupid the world is, that they could be that deluded, and evil to think that they're going to be the ones responsible for, spreading the gospel worldwide. And, the gospel is going to be preached by angels. And so we're told that in the book of Revelation that, we're told who's going to be doing it. Revelation 14:6, and I saw another angel flying through the sky, carrying the eternal good news to proclaim to the people who belong to this world, to every nation, tribe, language, and people. And so I'll read that in the King James. And I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel, to preach unto them that dwelleth on the earth, and to every nation, and to kindred, and tongue, and people. And so we're told who's going to preach the gospel worldwide. There's no doubt. And it's just, we shouldn't even need to look at what's going on in the world. And even if they were teaching slightly better doctrines, it's still not them. And so Revelation 14:6 debunks that notion that whatever is going on earth, whether it's the 501c3 church, the Catholic Church, the Hebrews, or anybody, or even me or anything like that, no man is going to do that. That's impossible, and it's not even the two witnesses, because there's just two people. What are they going to do? Go knock on every door on earth? No, it has to be in the sky, and it has to be with angels. And we're told that. So it's obvious. And I'm going to bring that up here. Who's going to proclaim this gospel worldwide? And so it's the angels. And so it's not these Hebrews who are all, again, like I said, majority of them ball earthers and Satanists. So End Times Teacher's position is that he has to go through the quote unquote Great Tribulation because it's his and other of these idiots' responsibility to push the gospel worldwide, when he even will admit that censorship's happening and like stuff's not going to get posted soon. There's going to be a famine or whatever. So who's going to preach the gospel worldwide? Has it gone out already? Really? The gospel has gone out to the entire world through these baboons who are teaching the Bible and don't have any idea what's going on. That's insane. And so the Matthew 24 is sequential, but it's in blocks. And you'll notice that Christ is mentioning salvation a few times. And so he's not talking about three different salvations. He's talking about the same salvation, but he's doing it in chunks. And so once you put the chunks together, then you'll know, okay, he's starting again, And so like, we'll go through that because Christ mentions salvation in verse 13, talks about salvation again in verse 22, and then mentions salvation again in starting in verse 29. And so and then he talks about it again in 36. And so he mentions salvation multiple times. So it's not like 4 or 5 salvations in Matthew 24. It's in chunks. And every chunk is in the sequence that I've received on the first day of last year. And so this is what End Times Teacher has been. He's just an actor. But no one can be that stupid to think, first of all, that they're the two witnesses and they have the responsibility of spreading the gospel worldwide and do all these other things when this clown just sits in his place and just eats moon pies and drinks Red Bulls and just wears an NASA shirt. Like this idiot literally telling us that he's Satan, thinks that he's the elect, and then the elect are dumb enough to go through the Great Tribulation. The elect would not even want to be here now. Are you kidding me? Some of them are blind and lame. What are they going to do? It's like, make it through the Great Tribulation. How? Like, it's not funny, but like, this person is completely insane. And again, more and more adds fuel to the fire for me, so to speak, that I don't feel safe here. Because like the religious people are stupid, and then we obviously know what the government's up to and all that kind of stuff. So it's good. It's exciting for me personally, but I don't need this. But, just again, to sort of kill time. So let's go through Matthew 24 again very quickly, because I've done lessons on this already, but I'll just tell you that in chunks. Christ uses his words very carefully. He knows that people are going to be clinging to his every word, a certain group of people. So he's not going to say things willy-nilly. He won't. It's meant to deceive to some extent a lot of people to go and use this and make their own ideas. But this is in 24, so Matthew 44. Certain people have been given insight into this, the way it's going to work and happen. And so Matthew 24, starting at verse 3, he's talking about signs of the ends of the age. And he's talking about, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There'll be famines, earthquakes, and all that kind of stuff. And so, that's no. And so that's like all the historical wars, whether you believe they're real or not, that's what it is. All the famines and earthquakes that we see. But he's like, these are the beginnings of the birth pains. And so that's in the past. Hopefully anybody is very clear that we're in the late stages of this. And so that's done and happening to some extent, the earthquakes and famines worldwide. Not in America yet, because that can't happen. And I'll explain why here again, that it can't be in America yet, because that's deeper into the end times. And so then he says, then they will deliver you up to tribulation and put you to death. That can't be his elect in the last days, because they're dead. So that's a time leading up to this. And so this is why, again, you have to understand reincarnation, because he's still speaking to the disciples. He's like, and they will deliver you up to tribulation. So this again, why it's one of the many thousands of verses that support reincarnation. So he is speaking to his disciples. And so there will be a lead up where they'll be in a body, be put to death, and they'll be hated for his namesake. And so that's not referring to the last days, because they're dead. Because the elect will not die, they'll receive salvation. And so that's a lead up. And then he's like, and then many of you will fall away and betray one another and hate one another. And he's talking about a period of time where there's going to be increasing evil on the earth. So God essentially taking his hand away and then giving it to the wicked, which is what in Job 9:24 it says here, and many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. So a majority of the world is going to be led away by a false prophet, whether it's end times teacher who has a small following, Tahar, a little bit bigger, Ken Hovind, Pastor Anderson, Joel Osteen, and all the way up. And then the supreme one is the government. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. And so there's a time where, as we see love diminishing on this earth, Christ-like love, then we know that it's Bible prophecy. And so that's the days that we live in now. And then Christ says, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. So now, after all this, the love of many will grow cold. There's going to be a time of salvation. And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations. And then the end will come. Why is he talking about two end times? What did Christ make a mistake? Or his end times teacher is an idiot? But the one who endures to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations. And that's going to happen according to Revelation 14:6. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel. Isn't she going to get wings and fly in the sky? This idiot. He's high, but not because of this. High on something else, Red Bulls. Having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people. That's the only way to do it, is in the sky with the angels. These are called flying scrolls in other parts of the Bible. These are the so-called UFOs. So when Christ returns and saves his elect, he's going to be bringing two witnesses here. And then now the world's going to know God exists, or they have an invader if you're Satanist. And so now those UFOs are going to be interacting with this earth regularly. And one of them is through Revelation 14:6 and fulfilling, again, is this, I just noticed this now, but this is why the Bible is amazing. Matthew 24:14, and this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations. And then just happen to go to Revelation 14, and then you get the answer to that. Really? Come on. And then the end will come is talking about the final end. That is when Christ returns with his elect and then destroys, everybody with the mark of the beast. And so why does Christ use that language? He uses it very, very carefully. And so just know that. And so now Christ is going to go into detail of this time where there's great tribulation. But we know first off from verse 13, the elect are taken away. And so that's the beginning. That's always the beginning of all the sequence videos that I produced. Notice how End Times Teacher never comments on any of my sequence videos. Like, and I'm going to bring more out from Psalms and really everywhere. He doesn't comment once. Like Obadiah's judgment, all these people, nope. Tahar, nothing. You never get a peep. I don't get any views at all on those sequence videos. Really, that's strange. And so why is that? And so I know it's true because if the Bible's true, that's what it is. But how come we don't get any comments on that? You know, he'll talk about Ronnie McNutt or like all these other idiots and like moon pies and all this kind of stuff. So these people are demons, they're Satanists. And so they have the audacity to replace everything God does by angels, for example, and say that's them. God's planning to bring 2 witnesses here. No, that's me. That's this retard who just like literally is brain dead. And so just know that. And so this again is why I don't feel safe here. So Christ goes into detail about this final end. And then he says, so when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet standing in the holy place. So this is, and in brackets, let the reader understand this is coded language. And so there's no abomination going to sit in a temple or anything like that. These idiots. And this is, again, Christ is letting us know that that's designed for people, the 501c3 church mainly, and even a lot of these flat earth Christians. They're going to say, no, there's a temple in the Middle East where like some guy is going to stand up there and proclaim himself to be God and all that kind of stuff. Like this is, so Christ is letting us know that's coded language. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let the one who's in the rooftop not go down to take what is in his house, and let the one who's in the field not turn back to take his cloak. And alas, for women who are pregnant, for those who are nursing infants in those days, pray that your flight may not be in winter or a Sabbath, for then there will be great tribulation, as has not been from the beginning of the world until now, no, never will be. And so Christ is describing a time that after the elect are saved, the gospel is going to be preached. There's just going to be chaos everywhere. Because, there's literally going to be angels flying in the sky. People are going to like, what is that? You know, it's like the same as the Nebuchadnezzar days. They're going to ask his like enchanters and all those people, sorcerers, what is that? No one's going to know. And so it's just that kind of thing, except God's right-hand side. And so he describes here, that's the Great Tribulation. The elect are taken away. And so just know that. And so that's what it is. If any normal person who's not even part of the elect sees all this chaos going on, what are they going to do? You're going to go run around and like hang out with people here? Even like today, talking about like if there's food shortages, you know, in a week, what am I going to do? I'm going to go run around and like dangle off trees. Like you just like End Time Teacher's a moron and all this kind of stuff. That's crazy. And so no normal person, forget about the elect, no normal person would do that. Who knows that the earth is flat and stationary, and then that the Bible says that this is hell. It's over. And so just know that his job is to bait people to the end of the Great Tribulation. Because at the end of the Great Tribulation, according to what I was told and what the Bible says, is that there's going to be America burned with nuclear fire first. And then a great battle of the Christ returning with his elect, who will destroy those with the mark of the beast. And so his job is to bait people into that time period, because he's a Satanist. And so his job is to get people, more and more people, into the lake of fire. You know, so just know that he's essentially being preserved and wants other people to make it to the end of the Great Tribulation. But if you quote make it to the end of the Great Tribulation, you're going to be burned with nuclear fire, or Christ himself with his angels and his elect killing. And so just know that that's his job, you know, and that's the job of all these government based people, whether they're officially on the government payroll or not. He's a Satanist, you know, and we know he's a Satanist officially because he teaches the non-virgin birth, which is blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. So he's like the worst of the worst, because he actually gets on YouTube and like tries to teach things. And so God lets us know, it's obvious. So this again is just one of the many reasons to know that. He's taking the job of everything God's doing and put it on his resume. That's what Satan does. You know, no, God made the heavens there. No, the Big Bang did that. No. You know, God does all this stuff. No, Satan did that. And all that kind of, it's the same thing, you know. And so God is behind the mark of the beast. Sorry to break it to people who are stupid, but that's what it is. It's not Satan. And so anybody who gives credit to Satan is a Satanist. So we know now, me and hopefully lots of other people, that God is behind all these things. And so we take a tremendous amount of comfort in that. And we don't take anything on this earth seriously, just as a joke. Everything's just waiting to be burned. And so we're excited for that. So that's the sequence in Matthew 24. And it stops at 21. So now Christ goes into the next chunk, because he's talking about salvation again. So why would Christ talk about salvation at the beginning in 13, talk about another salvation again in 22? No, he's talking about a new chunk. And so starting at 22, and if those days had not been cut short, no human being was saved. And then he goes down the sequence again. And so just know that. And so Christ mentions salvation, like I said, multiple times. And so it's always the same thing. And we're given a clue here that debunks End Times Teacher's entire retarded video. How can the elect go through Great Tribulation when Great Tribulation is defined in Revelation 18:8 as, I'll read it. Revelation 18:8 says, for this reason her plagues will come in a single day, death, mourning, and famine, and then she's going to be burned with fire. So how can the elect go through death, mourning, and famine, and then burned with fire? And let's say that's the time of Great Tribulation where there's like plagues and famine and all that kind of stuff. But he says in Matthew 24:36, but concerning that day or hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son, but the Father only. For as were in the days of Noah, so will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving into marriage until the day when Noah entered the ark. So Christ is saying the day up to when he returns, everybody's going to be drinking, marrying, giving into marriage. So how can you have drinking, marrying, giving into marriage, eating and drinking when you have a famine? It's like two contradictory things, dummy. And so these are verses that he's not allowed to bring out. And he's also not told the numerology. Matthew 24:36 is 3 6s. 666 is the time that we live in now, that God has brought 666 out to the forefront on purpose. It's literally everywhere. It's literally tattooed across this earth with 6 feet social distancing, one of the many ways. And so it's in these days. Christ can return any day now. And so we don't know the day or hour like it says here, but we know the time period. And Christ rebukes people who don't know, because he says later that you have to be aware. You must also be ready. And this is in verse 44. This is for his elect. Therefore, you must also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. But if he's saying we have to be ready, then if we don't know anything about the time period, how are we supposed to be ready? And so it's like, we don't know the hour or the day, of course, but we know the time period for sure. And it's obviously we know the year. And so it's this year. So I don't know what else to say. Like, it has to be. And so because we see all the other things happening. And so it's just obvious. And so he rebukes people later. So then he's like, who then is the faithful and wise servant whom his master has set over his household to give them their food at the proper time? Blessed is that servant whom the master will find doing when he comes. And so he's saying that you have to know the time period and all that kind of stuff. He's like, are you going to be the one going in there drinking, eating, drinking, giving into marriage and all that kind of stuff when Christ is going to return? What's the point of a marriage? And, drinking and like basically all this kind of slothfulness. And so, no, he says here, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, at an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and put him with the hypocrites. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's a lake of fire. And so, no, we're not supposed to be just eating abominable food and, acquiescing, wearing a mask and all this kind of stuff. That's not what God wants. That's not what Christ wants. And that's why these Hebrews, in particular, End Times Teacher, he won't talk about the masks being a sin. He's not allowed to. And so whatever the government says, he slowly has to say it's okay, and so because he believes a mark of the beast is a microchip and does not understand, it can't explain how that's going to work when there's so much resistance right now to simply the vax, and he's not able to go into the numerology. I'll put that video again below about the numerology behind, this vaccine and how it's encoded BNT16 2B2 is 666. And so he's not allowed to talk about that. And he doesn't know that verse 36 here is there on purpose, for a particular reason. And he also, verse 44 is for the elect. Therefore, you must also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. When he's saying you do not expect, he's talking to his disciples. And he's saying that you're going to be in those end days because it's reincarnation. And so he's speaking to a small group of people. And so these numbers don't mean anything to End Times Teacher at all. And so again, End Times Teacher thinks that this clown show that's going on is the gospel being preached worldwide, but we're told explicitly how the gospel is going to be preached worldwide in the sky by angels and that kind of thing. And so he doesn't understand that Matthew 24 is in chunks. And Christ does not say tribulation in one place and then great tribulation somewhere else just randomly. Are you kidding me? Is there not a difference between tribulation and great tribulation? Are you kidding me? No, it's the same thing. Go up to anybody and be like, oh, I had a tough time, or I had an extremely tough time. Those are not different things when people say that. Oh, I had a bad day. I had a really bad day. It's not different things. These people are so dumb. And so Christ teaches here, immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from heaven, which could refer to this recent meteor shower or whatever. and the powers of heaven will be shaken. Then will appear the sign. Then will appear in heaven the sign of the Son of Man, and then all tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds. And so Christ is going to return after the tribulation. So Christ teaches a post-tribulation rapture, but a pre-plague rapture. And so the plagues are written of in 18:4 and 18:8 and described in Revelation 16, and I've done many lessons on that. So just know that. God's elect, the actual elect, not end time teacher, and these retards are not appointed under wrath. And so just know that. And that's in 1 Corinthians. First Thessalonians. For God has not destined us for wrath, but to obtain salvation through our Lord Jesus Christ. And so these are verses he can't go into, and he will not do a lesson on that. And so the amazing thing about this that we all know now, and this was funny, I wanted to mention this in Russian Vids' live stream last night. He brought Jaron on, and we were just roasting Jaronism, who's just an idiot. We all know he's an actor. Everybody was like, get this guy out. Because we all know that he's an actor. And he's just talking in circles. He believes this Capitol Hill thing may not have been staged, or some of it's real, or something like that. And we're just like, dude, get out of here. What? We don't want to hear this guy's opinion. Jaronism's voice is annoying, and he's stupid. And so then I started roasting Dearth as well in the chat, and just everybody. It was just kind of fun. And then Russian Vids let it go. So credit to him. And then so we all know that he's an actor. They call him Baby Truther, but he's just a demon. And so it's to me, it's amazing now. We know that the world is filled with actors. And so now the question is, the onus is not on us anymore. We know that they're actors, and we're not actors. We're quote unquote real people who don't like what we see and all that. And we want these words to come true. So does God love the actors more than he loves us? That's what it comes down to. And not even us. Let's take us out of it. What about the people that he actually says explicitly by quote unquote name, the blind and the lame in Jeremiah 31:8, and everywhere that God is destined and excited and anxious to rescue the poor, the lowest of the low. So that's what we want. That's what I want. And so now it's up to God. And this is the amazing thing. God is in a corner, and he wants that. He wants us to mentally go to that as well. And so now we know that the world is filled with actors. I know end-time teacher an actor. Sometimes he literally says it. And so we know that Obadiah's Judgment's an actor, Tahar's an actor, Ken Hovind's an actor, Pastor Anderson's an actor, all the government leaders are actors, Jaronism's an actor, Dearth's an actor, all these people. And so we know that they're just actors. So now the question is, what does God want us to do? Act like they do? Or, like it says in Revelation 18:4, come out of her, my people. Don't be partakers of those sins. Don't act. Don't lie. Don't acquiesce. Don't pretend that this mass thing is normal or what, and all the other things beyond that. No, we're not. It's not our job to pretend anything and play stupid. All these things are not random coincidence, all this kind of stuff. BNT16 2B2, really? Just happened to be encoded by 666. Are you kidding me? So no, Christ can return any day now. That's just the way it is. And so because he doesn't need, the Hebrew is definitely not an end-time teacher, who's an idiot, to do anything that the Bible requires, except, like it says in verse 24, 2:4:44, this is for the elect. This is designed to deceive the elect. The elect are not going to be deceived by the government, because no one is. And so it's false Christ and false prophets. And so there's people who actually think they're Christ who are mentally ill, so we don't have to address them. But false prophets who will say things, and then we'll know that they're not coming true because they're just stupid. And so we know pretty much everybody, except, again, I would say me and end-time teacher are prophesying, they're all ball earthers. And so I don't even care what they say, just to laugh at them and be like, you're stupid. And so how are we going to trust somebody who's talking about the future or spiritual things when they think they're on a spinning ball? It's like literally looking at, those little gerbils or hamsters in those wheels or whatever. It's like going up to one of them and be like, hey, what do you think is going to happen? In the future. That's how funny it is to me. This world is so dumb. I cannot wait to get out of here. These people are absolutely stupid. So, like it says here, for false Christ and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders, so to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. It's not possible. And I know that because I'm not. And it's not to say that I'm the elect, but to say that I'm proof that these false Christ and false prophets are not working. And seeing what I saw yesterday in Russian Vids' live stream in the chat in particular, it's not working either. Because we all know that and Russian Vids has hundreds of people, 500, 600, 700 people on his live stream, and we're all roasting Jaron. And then there's a few who are diplomatic, oh no, Jaron's a nice guy, and yada, yada, yada. But a majority of us get this guy out of here. And then they brought on Zachary Hubbard, this gematria guy who actually taught us something, interesting things like numerology and all that, kind of like this, And so It's amazing. The whole world is just rejecting stupid leadership. And like, it's great. There's like a revolution. And me and a few of us were like, we reject all leadership unless it's Christ himself. This is the amazing thing about the times that we live in now. I demand that anybody that is put over me is Christ himself. That's it. I don't care who it is or what they say or what they do, any hocus pocus. I don't care who it is. And so it's not funny, but this is the amazing thing. And we join that cry with the elect because we know that they're saying that. They have to be. And so that's the group that I want to be in. Revelation 18:4, come out of her, my people. And so, no, I reject anybody, even myself, as the leader of myself, except Christ. And then this is the beautiful thing that the time that we live in. How much more obvious could this perverted leadership of this earth be? I mean, we have end times teacher who is like a disgusting human being, doesn't even know how to like eat properly, talking about him and his people. It's like funny, spreading the gospel worldwide. Are you kidding me? Like handing out moon pies to like young kids in Africa and South America and all that kind of stuff. Like, this world is so dumb. It's mad funny. It's more and more proof that we're living in hell. I don't need it, but that's insane. And so just know Matthew 24 is in layers. It's in chunks because he's talking about salvation many, many times, and he's doing this on purpose. He is. Christ is doing this on purpose, and then certain people are given insight by knowing the sequence that they can go in and say, oh, okay, that's where it stops, and then the second one begins, and then all that. And so End Time Teacher's entire video is debunked by one verse where Christ says, here, for as in those days before the flood, they were drinking, eating, marrying, and giving in marriage until the day when Noah entered the ark, until the day that he entered the ark. And that ark in the end times is Christ returning. And so it's going to seem normal. And so how can you have death, mourning, and famine, and then Christ return? Christ can't even return during that time, or else he's a liar, much less after that time. Are you kidding me? And so, no, if America is in really any kind of chaos, the whole world is thrown into chaos because we buy everything. And so that's why Christ has to return this year, because it has to be during a relatively calm time before America starts getting really chaotic, and then the famines and then all that kind of stuff. So, and God's elect would not stand for that for a day because they don't want to be here now. And I know that because I don't want to be here now. And so if I'm in that group, then I don't want to be here. And so if I'm not, then they definitely are. They've been crying out longer. So I like that situation too, because then it's like it's going to happen even sooner. And so that's great. I'm totally fine with that. If Christ returns and takes away a group of people, I just want to see that. And then that day, if it's like, whatever, how much time I have left in that day, I'm out of here. And so, because I know what's going to happen. It's not funny, but I know what the next 1,260 days are going to be like. I can describe it to you in detail by reading Revelation 16, which none of you retards want to read because you're all idiots. And so why would I hang around here? We'll just see what happens. No, that's the wrath of God. And so it's not funny, but it's so funny that people are dumb enough to even spend a day in that. But this is all the will of God. And so, certain people are assigned certain roles, but I know what my role is for sure. My role is not to be acquiescing into a disgusting system with a perverted leadership. And I'm talking about even in the truth community, absolutely not. No, thank you. And so I don't want to be here today, much less tomorrow, much less the day after, and all that kind of stuff. So I see Christ's return takes away his elect, the blind, the poor, and the lame, a great company, he describes it as. I want to go where they're going. And so if End Times Teacher and all these other retards are taken away, this is a good place to be, actually, because then all the liars are gone. Then we may actually be able to make something of this place. And so I don't want to go where they are. That God is retarded. And so, no, I don't want to be taken away by a God who's stupid, taking away stupid people. Of course not. And so that's ridiculous. I'd actually feel more comfortable here now, because then no one would be teaching the Bible who are just dumb. And so just like retarded and deluded to think that there are all these exalted positions in the Bible. He thinks that he's the elect. He thinks he's the two witnesses. Obadiah Judgment thinks they're the remnant. And now he thinks he's the angels, like spreading the gospel worldwide and all this kind of stuff. I guess through YouTube, he's going to do it or something like that. And so this is the world that we live in. How much dumber can this world be? It can't. And so either, to me, we're going to know this year whether the Bible's true or not. And this is an exciting time. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.